I wanted to do a video on how to use the doubling cube in backgammon for those people who might enjoy the odd game of backgammon or two, but don't really know what the doubling cube does, or they might have used it once or twice but forgotten and not been completely sure. Now I've got open Extreme Gammon, which is a fabulous piece of software which lots of serious backgammon players use. What I'm going to show is a match, not just a game, but a match. And this match that I've decided to play is to 5 points. And what that means is that the first person to get 5 points or more on the score wins the entire match. And let's say we were starting to get very keen on backgammon and we wanted to go to a local backgammon tournament. We might find that that we enter into a knockout tournament of 8 players. It's decided that everyone plays matches to 5 points to decide the winner and who goes to the next round. Now, what it means to play a match to 5 points is not just to play 5 games consecutively or as many games as is needed to see who reaches the number 5 most. What a match to 5 means is that you play those games, but you play those games using this doubling dice, and I'm going to show you how to use it. Now let's start a new game, new match, and I'm going to be both players. Well, actually, match length 5, Olive versus Bertie. Olive is going to be the white pieces and Bertie is going to be the blue. Now, so Bertie managed to roll a 4 and Olive rolled a 1, so that means that the highest die, the person that rolled the highest number starts. So Bertie starts with a 4-1 and plays as normal a 4-1. I'm going to play it like this, but it doesn't matter how I do it. So now it's the white checkers go, it's Olive's go. So at any time before your roll, you have the option of doubling your opponent. What that means is that you take the doubling dice. In real life, you place it. Are you sure you want to double? Yes. You place it on the usually it's actually on the right hand side of the board, and you take it and you place it onto double what the stake had been when you started the match. So you take it from 1 and you place it on 2, and what this says to your opponent is that you wish to carry on playing this game for double the stakes. Now your opponent is faced with 2 choices. He can either accept the double and thereby the game continues for the doubled stake, which is 2, and you carry on playing the game as normal. Or he can figure that he doesn't have much of a chance in the game at all, and he can give up the game. But if he gives up the game, he can't just give up the game and carry on from the next game at no loss, at no penalty. His penalty for giving up the game is that the person who doubled wins the amount that the stake of the game that it was on before he doubled the stakes. So the game before he doubled the stakes was being played for 1 point. So therefore, if Bertie chooses not to carry on the game, Bertie will lose 1 point, and the match will resume with Olive leading Bertie 1-0. So let's show how that's done in practice. You'll see here that Olive has got 1 out of 5 and Bertie has got 0 out of 5. You'll also see that the game has started again and that you go on to game 2. So Olive is now winning the match 1-5, but has a long way to go to actually win the match completely. Now, the very, very important thing which I should have said before all of this, and the thing which always confused me, which perhaps confuses other people, is this 64. And I could never work out what this 64 meant, and that's probably what put me off using the doubling cube when I first started playing backgammon. But for all intents and purposes, this 64 just means 1. Anyway, back to the match. Olive has now won the first game, is leading 1-0, and we carry on. Olive rolled a 6, and Bertie rolled a 2, so Olive starts with the 6-2. Now it's Bertie's go, 5-3. Plays it like that. Now it's Olive's go, 6-3. Plays it like that. And so on. Bertie thinks, hold on, I think I've got the advantage. I want to play this game for 2 instead of 1. So before he rolls the dice on his go, he offers the double to Olive. And Olive is faced with the same choice. She can either pass the game, in which case she loses a point, the score would go to 1-1, and then a new game starts from scratch, or she takes. Olive thinks, I've got enough I'm not as much of a disadvantage that I need to just give up the game completely and give up a whole point to my opponent. I'm going to take my chances and take. So now it's Olive's go. And Olive decides, hold on, I think even after that go, I've got enough of an advantage to play the game for 4 points. So, as the cube is on her side, and I will go into that in a little bit more detail in a bit, she is able then to redouble, because it's a double of a double. She's able to offer the game for double the stakes of the value it is on now, which would be from 2 to 4. Double 2 is 4. And so she's offering to play the game for 4 points. And now poor Bertie, has to either give up 2 points or carry on playing the game for 4. Let's say he carries on. He thinks, okay, I've got enough of an advantage, or I'm not as much of a disadvantage that I need to give up for 2 points. So he accepts the cube, and the game carries on. So Olive doubled, then Bertie accepts, then Olive just rolls the dice normally, plays her 4-3, which she has done, picks up the dice, and now it's Bertie's go. Now, this is the second last thing that I'm going to explain. You will notice that the cube has gone from the middle to Olive's side and then back to Bertie's side. Now, the position of the cube on the board indicates something quite important. What that means is that the cube being on your side of the board means that only you are entitled to touch the cube, or only you are entitled to use the cube from there on in. So that would mean that if Olive wants to double again, Olive can't double again. Olive has already doubled, which means she's lost the right to double. However, Bertie has accepted the cube and has control of the cube. If Bertie wants to double the stakes at any point, he is able to do that. He is legally entitled to do so. That's a very important point. Anyway, so it's blue checker's go, and he's on the bar, and Bertie has to come in, so he chooses to play his 4-3 like that. Olive has a 5-6. Don't worry too much about how we play that. And then, just to illustrate what we said before, is that, well, Bertie can still double. Bertie thinks, oh, I've got a great big advantage here. He might be wrong, but nevertheless, that's what he thinks. And so he decides to double.
Double.
So now, we can see that instead of the game being played for 4, he wants to play it for 8 points. And just like before, if Olive is faced with two decisions, one is to carry on playing the game, which has to be at the stake that the cube has been doubled 2, which is 8, or she can pass and then give up 4 points. Now, Olive's going to take, just so that we can show you that now, if the game is being played for 8 points, then the match is going to be decided by this game. And that is how you play a match in tournament backgammon, using the doubling dice to double the stakes, to redouble the stakes, to give up one game, let your opponent win that point that the game started on, etc., etc. Now, there is one other rule which I should have gone through before. Now, what happened in the game was a theoretical game in which one side doubled to 2, the other side then redoubled to 4, the other side accepted that double, and then redoubled to 8. And then the side who was doubled decided that they'd had enough, and they gave up the amount that the game was being played for before it was doubled, which was 4 points. So now Olive leads Bertie 4 points, and what you'll see here is this word Crawford. Now this just refers to the man that came up with the rule, but the rule says that where a person leads a match and he is at 1 point away from winning the match, then neither side is allowed to double only for that game. So in this game, although the doubling dice is actually there on the board, no one is allowed to use it. To recap, that's the last final thing you need to know about the doubling cube. We've gone through matches, getting to a certain number of points, using the doubling cube to double the stakes, showing you that 64 basically means 1, and then we've gone through the Crawford rule.